The words animate, animation, animated, and animator all originate from the Latin word animare, meaning give life to. The zoetrope has the same general concept as the phenakistoscope. However, the images are instead on the inside of a spinning circle rather than just a flat circular image. To see the animation, you must look through a small slit while the zoetrope spins. The very first zoetrope was made in 100 BC in China by a man named Ding Huan. Much later, the zoetrope was made again by William Horner, who instead named it the Daedalum in 1833. But because of the very new nature of animation, the public often referred to this as the Wheel of the Devil. Zoetrope was a huge development in animation because it was the very first type of animation, and it is what really started off all developments in animation. The phenakistoscope is a circular disc with images drawn around the edge. Each image that is drawn must be spaced out evenly and slightly different from the last. Most have set parameters marked on them, such as slits, to make drawing the images and getting the spacing right much easier. A man named Joseph Plateau came up with the idea for the phenakistoscope in 1829. He then started planning it in 1839 and finished it in 1841. The phenakistoscope is used by spinning a vertical rod attached to the middle of the images. The very first flipbook was made by John Barnes Linnet in 1868, who named it the kineograph. Flipbook is the first type of animation that didn't use a circular set of images like the phenakistoscope did. Instead, the flipbook uses a linear one. The flipbook is just a book with images on each page that varies slightly from each other. To see the animation, you must flick through the pages quickly. The flipbook was the first biggest development of animation. This is because of the linear set of images, which allows for much longer animations. The praxinoscope was invented in 1877 by Charles Raynaud and was, in essence, an upgrade to the zoetrope. It uses a very similar technique with a set of images drawn around the outer edge of a cylinder similar to the zoetrope. However, there are no slits in the praxinoscope. Instead, there are mirrors for the user to look at to see the animation. Using these mirrors gave the images a much clearer and brighter look, as well as allowing the animation to be more or less stationary when spinning. The praxinoscope developed animation by the use of mirrors to achieve a much clearer and brighter image. The kinetoscope was one of the first motion picture devices. Only one person could use it at a time by looking through a peephole at the top. The animation was shown by using a perforated strip film with sequential images over a light source and a high-speed shutter. The praxinoscope was first described by Thomas Edison in 1888, and then its first public demonstration was in 1893. The kinetoscope was a major development in animation because it inspired motion pictures and the later use of projectors. Rotoscoping is when animators trace over footage, each and every frame. Used in live action and animated films, it originally was projected onto frosted glass and then redrawn. However, this technique has now been replaced digitally. It was invented by Max Fleischer in 1915, used in the series Out of the Inkwell. Rotoscoping creates a stylized cartoon look, creating large regions of color. Rotoscoping allowed for a unique style of animation, where the animated drawings actually look like they are part of a real-life image, making them also look alive. Drawn on film is as simple as it sounds. Images are drawn onto each frame of a film strip. This allowed you to draw almost anything. One of the first artists to do this was Norman McLaren. Cell animation uses thin transparent sheets where objects or images are drawn. Usually the cell that was right at the bottom would be a background image. This would save artists a lot of time, as they wouldn't need to draw the background over and over again. The cells would then be put into strips for use in a projector. Cell animation developed animation as a whole because it saved a lot of time and money when producing it. Bitmap, also known as raster images, are built up using tiny dots called pixels. Each pixel is a very small square and are given a colour, then arranged in a pattern to make an image. These are easy to see if you zoom and enlarge a bitmap image. Unlike bitmaps, vector images do not use pixels to make up an image. Instead, they use mathematical formulas to draw curves and lines that are used to create the image from geometric objects such as circles and polygons. Bitmap and vector images both have their respective advantages and disadvantages. A few advantages of bitmap are, in paint programs, you see what you are getting, usually in real time when using a paintbrush tool. When you are using a scanner, the images will usually be a bitmap. Using bitmaps makes creating natural colours a lot easier, such as watercolours mixing into each other. A few advantages of vectors are, they are almost resolution independent, meaning that it is possible to scale up the image and you won't be able to see any blockiness or pixels like you would in bitmaps. Vector shapes are very easily edited. There are also small output files for use over the internet. Also, shapes can be made to animate automatically from one shape to another, under certain circumstances. The name for this is usually tweening. Marc Roget created and published a book on the theory of the persistence of vision with regard to moving objects. According to the theory of persistence of vision, the successions of a series of still images are made to make the appearance of motion. His considerations of the illusion of motion was an important point in the history of film. Roget influenced other animation pioneers like Joseph Plateau, William Horner, and Willis O'Brien. Using the same method as Terry Gillingham, South Park was first made using photographic stills. It was made this way because it was a lot less time intensive compared to drawing the animations. Also, Matt and Trey weren't very good at drawing. They changed to computer generated techniques because, just like the method before this, it saved a huge amount of time and was much easier to use. They use Autodesk Maya for the animating. This program is useful because they can make the characters inside the program and then manipulate them as if they were puppets. Matt and Trey also wanted to keep the unique look that photographic stills give. This look can be replicated on Maya as well. They used about 340 processors and called it the rendering farm. Another fact is that they chose the mouth shape based on the pronunciation of a word. Terry Gillingham uses a very unique animation technique to create a more interesting and creative look. He gathers up materials from things like magazines, newspapers, and old photos. He then animates them by using photographic stills. This is where you make a small movement to the character or object and then take a picture until you are finished. Gillingham says this technique is maximum effect for minimum work. Steamboat Willie is the very first cartoon to have used synchronized sound and a fully post-produced soundtrack. It was released in 1928. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was produced by Walt Disney Productions and was released in 1937. It is the first full-length cel-animated feature film. The Warner Animation Division was founded as Leon Schlesinger Productions in 1937, which was an independent company that produced Looney Tunes for release by Warner Brothers. Schlesinger then sold the studio to Warner Brothers and it was running until 1967. However, in 1967 it opened again for another 2 years, where it would be closed for good. Warner Brothers' first officially released cartoon was called Bosco, Sinking in the Bathtub, and was released in 1930. Flash is a vector animation program. This means that it does not animate each frame, but instead has instructions to move the graphics. It simply stores point A and point B and the information on how it will move between them. This also applies to the graphics used to draw a circle. It stores the point, radius and fill. Graphics put into the library can be used millions of times. The late 1990s was when Flash animation started to become popular. The term Flash animation has become associated with a certain look and style that Flash animations give, kind of a crude and unfinished look. Popular Flash animations include Happy Tree Friends, Making Friends, and Salad Fingers.